Middle America, sleepy towns where nothing happens, the perfect place for a kid, a journal, and some crazy stories. The perfect setting for this episode of Yostalgia. Doug, the original Doug anyway, ran from 1991 to 94. They brought it back on Disney, but it wasn't quite the same. OG Doug was the greatest as far as I was concerned. Alright, so Doug had a special place for me because, he was one of the first TV characters that I remember, he was a big kid. And then I was his age, and then I was older than him. It was like him and Kevin Arnold, which, by the way, we need to talk about Winnie Cooper some other time. Today, we've got Doug and two great tales. We start with Doug acting out the art of the deal in a local comic shop.
I'll give you 3 brainwave womans, 4 human cyclones, and 1 yo-yo girl. So what if I add the first 5 issues of the Lumpy Squad?
Oh yeah, hey Sully, I want a random comic book. Well, you know what, here's everything I own. I mean, this was back in the days, it was before eBay, pre-eBay, we like to call it. And so we had no idea what things were worth. Doug just spent $100 on this goofy comic book. Well, because flexing on Doug is Mr. Sully's thing, he breaks out this bad boy, probably purchased by fleecing kids, Doug. Well, who does that, by the way? You know, they're like, hey, kid, I know you're super excited about that new comic book. Well, boom! Here you go. Here's my brand new thing. And too bad you just traded away your whole collection. You can't have it. We'll put this up here. Now, Doug is understandably bummed, but he decides to go to the mall to hang out for a little bit. There he runs into Fry from Futurama, who tells him to check out the comics outside. You can tell Fry's legit by his music.
Hey, listen, if you're interested, I got a friend with a whole bunch of comics he's trying to get rid of.
And outside, somehow, Doug is now a master negotiator, and then he shows Skeeter some elbows.
Wow, Doug, they got that priceless issue.
That one might be worth quite a few bills because it's in a plastic wrapper.
Are you kidding? That thing's worth a...
As God is my witness, he is broken in half!
Sure, so we're supposed to believe that Doug is some kind of smooth criminal now when just yesterday he was at the comic store trading away the deed to his parents' house for issue number 113 of some comic book. Now he knows how to negotiate? Either way, he makes the deal, and that leads up to a fantastic subplot fantasy.
Here he is, fellow superheroes. The amazing boy who collected my entire series.
And this ends up with Doug dealing with his arch enemy for the episode.
What shameless thievery! This could only be the work of one man.
You mean your arch nemesis, Dr. Master Snatcher, who was first introduced in issue number 45?
Can I just take a second to point out that Doug doesn't feel at all bad for Mr. Sully? He feels bad for the comic book characters. The comic book characters aren't in any actual danger. Feel bad for the old man who just got robbed. Doug, wanting to keep the comic, and who could blame him, goes full Jedi mind trick on old Phil Funny.
And he bought it fair and square.
Well, if it's fair and square...
You mean he should keep it?
Well, if it's fair and square...
Thanks, Dad.
Doug decided if he can talk to Sully, he'll see that everything's okay, but inside he runs into the worst security system ever. Well, not to mention the fact that the theft happened when Sully wasn't even there, so I'm going to say this seems like a little bit of an overreaction. Our boy returns the comic, all is forgiven. I'm not entirely sure where Sully got so many comics to restock everything so quickly, including...
Mr. Sully was so happy he got his comic book back that he let every kid in the store, and he even gave them all a complimentary copy of the latest Lumpy Squad.
Is that one of the ones Doug traded? And you're still out what you paid for issue number 1? Never mind. Happy ending. The next episode is big improving Doug's selective memory in his journal. The beginning makes sense, right? Skeeter gets a crush on a new girl with an accent. So how would you think this episode's gonna go? Where Doug, maybe actually hooks up his friend. Doug decides to go on a double date with, the two of them, and then him and Patty, or is Doug gonna completely trash the crush so that he can be the apple of Skeeter's eye? Doug's jealousy, meanwhile, is fueled by Fen Truck, who's piloting a Fen truck of tea and spilling it all on Loretta.
The girl who pretends to speak Yakistonesian. No. Oh, she can say, hello, how are you? I am very rich. Maybe a few other things, but that is all.
That reminds me, there's no huge intro for Loretta. You remember when Fen Truck was there? The principal's in class and, what was it? He's in lederhosen going, Wooba, Wooba, Wooba. He did. I mean, look up the episode. It's right here.
So he may be a writer, but Doug's clearly not a fact checker, so he just decides Loretta's evil, which treats us to this fantasy.
Well, it just so happens Fentruck says you don't speak Yakistonesian for beans. Tell her, Fentruck.
You don't speak Yakistonesian for beans.
He's a liar. He's jealous of my rich family. Always has been.
At this point, I hate to tell Doug this, but all kids exaggerate. They're kids. They want to seem important, but that's not a cause for alarm.
All right, maybe not, but this?
Oh, shoot. I've forgotten my purse.
Don't worry, I got money.
Yeah, keep an eye on that.
Back at home, Mr. Dink's been watching infomercials again.
Buy a new machine, Mr. Dink?
It's the Truth-O-Matic Industrial Strength Lie Detector, Douglas.
Indeed. The machine busts Dink as he's trying to impress a little kid in his shed with no windows. He responds by smashing his new toy. Meanwhile, since everything is confirming Doug's bias, he has another fantasy.
Explain that, Miss Yakistonia.
So I hate to nitpick. No, I don't. But if she has all these jewels in the house, couldn't she just buy her own home? Anyway.
Skeeter calls Doug. He's somehow obtained a passport, plane tickets, and is buying Loretta clothes for a ski trip.
Wait a minute, what's Skeeter gonna wear? Even in Doug's fantasy earlier, like he didn't have winter clothes.
Doug Lance Armstrong's to the mall to try and stopping the shenanigans. It turns out he was actually pretty right.
Well, I mean, I just know a few phrases like, how are you, and I am very rich.
But Skeeter seems unfazed, admitting that he actually likes Loretta for who she is.
That bastard.
When the mystery aunt surprisingly shows up, Skeeter still buys the clothes, and everyone lives happily ever after that. Wait, he still bought the clothes?
Okay, I get that Skeeter said he would buy the clothes, but like Aunt Marlene is here. She's this big Yakistonesian superstar. She's private jet money. You mean to tell me she doesn't even have a credit card? Like, even if she does pay Skeeter back later, the whole thing's a little,
Well, that's it for this Yostalgia. Sorry for the massive delay, but thank you very much for watching. And feel free to check out some of the other Yostalgia videos. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe so I know which ones you like. I know which episodes to do more of. I got some other ones planned for the near future. Don't want to give too much away, but I will catch you next time. Thanks a lot.